mentors that I've been working with since I was a young girl. And so today we're going to be opening this container to be able to hold and receive and support with guidance, inspiration, suggestions, ideas, perspectives that can ideally aid in each person's evolution on this life and in this walk, knowing that you can bring a question for yourself, humanity, or the planet, and we will use our own internal guidance and connection with what seems relevant and pertinent and at the surface to support you along this path. The basic guidelines, though, for this work are believe it, receive it, leave it, or lend it. So knowing that whatever comes up in this session, even if it's for another person and you're resonating with it, it's your choice to do what you want with this information. So we're not here to be the catalyst if you're not ready for big life changes, and knowing that if something comes up that feels like it's going to be really rocking your life in a way that there isn't the support right now, or the foundation in your current life situation to be able to hold that you can honor that this wisdom or this teaching that you know is important has its own time that's going to come. And so without holding on to it and feeling this urgency, trusting and setting it aside for the earth to hold on to with the commitment, you'll return to it when you're ready. It can be a lot to hold on to, these callings that we have, as many of you may know. So for anyone popping on, I want to just share a bit about the current exploration I've been having around insecurity. And in fact, I just made this. Let's see if I can share here. If you look down on, I think that's it. Oh, no, wrong one. I made a newsletter and I made a new transmission, just like a 7-minute transmission, because the concept of insecurity as a teacher has been in my field right now since the weekend, and exploring where insecurities come from, but also why insecurities may be banished or sent to the back chambers of our consciousness, and how powerful it is to be able to give space and presence to these insecurities, not in the form of feeding them and being consumed by them, letting them consume you, but honoring what is it that they are here to teach us about ourselves, about deeper parts of our being that may not be getting addressed because of potentially who we believe we are, who we want the world to see ourselves as, confidence, our personal confidence that may be outshadowing or just getting in the way of even exploring. Maybe there are parts of us that are uncomfortable and insecure, but in order to create space for that, what would that mean to the rest of you? Can you actually hold yourself within that? Hello, everyone, by the way, popping on. We've got Donald and Susan and Katie and everyone else coming with you forward here. So just to continue a little transmission I made, it's on my YouTube channel for anyone who wants to see more video transmissions. There's some there. I want to explore insecurity as a teacher, and if there's any guidance that the Invisibles have with this teaching. And then once we get through that transmission, we can get down to the list as it comes. So feel free to put your question on the list, and we'll do as much as we can within the next hour. So here we go. I brought my bells today, so we'll just open with a little rattle. Honoring the great beneath, the earth, the foundations of our lives, the great beyond, the celestial realms, the unseen allies, the support that gives us that eagle-eye perspective, and of course, the great within, each and every one of you and your stories and your unique experiences, dreams and aspirations. All of that great Trinity is welcome in this space today. So here we go. We are listening to something that is predominant on this planet, which is denial of one's insecurities. Seeing insecurities as weakness instead of seeing insecurities as an opportunity to deepen your experience and your relationship with what is truly authentic in your body, in your being, in your ancestral inheritance. You see, as each person comes into this life, comes into these bodies, incarnates to bring whatever their soul's gift is to this world, and to let the gift of this world support your soul in deepening its relationship with itself and with the myriad of other beings that become this unified soul. It's important to realize that if there are parts, if there are leaks in your being in which there isn't a sense of full acceptance or knowing or confidence, where who you desire to be or who or what you desire to look like, be bringing to this world, are not matching what's current. This happens even at a young age for many children that are in school or exploring who they are while seeing those around them that have matured or have new skills or development, without understanding that time and practice and patience and growth is part of reaching that goal, along with determination. But for somebody that is not able to notice the difference on where they wish to be and what is current, that's where the conflicting experiences can come. To be able to soften and humble oneself, to be able to receive the reflection that you are not fully embodied in the fullness of who you can be in this life, that there is a feeling that your soul is telling you that there are pieces of who you can be that are not fully graduated into this body. There's nothing to be ashamed of. But it does show you these are places that there can be growth. These are places that there can be evolution. But these are also places to honor what growth and evolution have already occurred to get you there. For a child to be able to walk has taken a significant amount of energy and internal resources and persistence and dedication and discouragement. So let your insecurities be the catalyst and be the motivational source and resource that can give you an idea of what you could focus on. Not from a place of trying to candy coat or band-aid what you feel, but deepening your relationship with these parts of yourself that desire to grow, while honoring where they currently are. Thank you. Lovely. So that was a little journey into insecurity as a teacher. So while I'm waiting for questions to arise, just want to say hello to everyone. Thank you for arriving here in this gathering. So I guess I can do a little intermission song while I'm waiting for questions. And to know that you can put your questions here. Since there's no questions queued, I can see if there's any private messages. However, usually when things get bumping, I don't check because it can take a little bit. But I'm not seeing that. So let's just do a little intermission song and then we'll get on to the next question, which is, oh no, we just popped on. So this is a little song for everyone watching. Yarno leinen kivon leinen einam leinen einam leinen All right, so the first question we got here is, hey, I'm going to meditate on themes within, and just ask or trust spirit and ask, what message or guidance do I need at this time? Thank you. All right. And so also for anyone popping on, the theme is also something you can explore. So if it's not a direct question, you can say, I'm exploring the theme of love. I'm exploring the theme of trust in my life. I'm exploring the theme of family and what that means, if that's helpful. I'm exploring the theme of global devastation. And so I do want to encourage remembering that it doesn't have to be about your own personal experience, though I do believe that there's a ripple effect of our relationship to ourselves and how that builds into the fabric of what's happening around us. But to know that if it's a question for the planet, it's a question for how to relate with what's happening on the planet. Those are also very valued. So as for Ona, I'm just going to repeat this again. So she says, what messages or guidance do I need at this time? Thank you. So here we go. You're not contradicting yourself with asking what is needed of you to be of greater service. And why we're saying this, even this may sound confusing, is that there are parts of you that are exploring how to be more permeable to what is, instead of trying to create or diagnose what needs to happen. To allowing yourself to sit in the seat of presence and awareness with your current surroundings, to cool down the nervous system, to allow yourself to have that spaciousness before action takes place. We understand that this can be really challenging when there's so much instigation, there's so much a light in your life, there's so much desires and impulses and drive to continue the momentum that you feel on an internal level. But to know that you being able to sit and receive and breathe in that sense of surety that there is enough space for you to observe your surroundings without having to interact and engage right away, impulsively, to keep the ball moving. Sometimes in people's lives, when you get to that place of momentum, it can be easy to feel that that impulse needs to continue. That allowing yourself to continue in action is the best supportive way of making headway. Well, sometimes that impulse can also be distracting and taking a long way to what you truly desire. One image that we see as is someone kicking the ball and kicking the ball and having to go and chase that ball and kicking it again, working gradually on getting that ball to your destination. But what if you're able to breathe and explore? Do those actions actually need to come with you? Or can you just leave the impulse, leave the actions for a moment and walk yourself to where you're seeking? There doesn't always have to be something physical in front of you to prove that you are actually creating headway. But that ball may represent the parts of your life that you can see, that you can engage with, that you can watch the reaction to your actions in a very physical, tangible way. But it can be distracting in the long run if that's not what's needed. So for you, exploring how to breathe and know that your breath and your patience is part of speeding up the progression in your life. Thank you. Beautiful. I like that one. I know for me and any other Aries, there's this exploring in my own self, this desire to just go and follow that spark and create that spark. And noticing sometimes I can validate that that's the only thing that can happen, that that is the next step. But recently I've been noticing what it feels like to give some spaciousness and saying, is that actually necessary? Is that actually conducive to what I truly want? And knowing that there is time for you to sit with that presence. So there you go, my dear, and for everyone else that that may have resonated with. So moving on, the next question that we have, and hello everyone popping on, me, Sarah Burns, and the Invisibles. This is our weekly Q&A, channel Q&A. So Susan Batchelor says, hi, I've been on a challenging health journey over the last while, wondering if there's any suggestions as how to navigate my next steps back to health. Thank you. Okay. So the first thing that I heard was the importance of curiosity, but like curiosity in a form of exploration and almost like a youthful exploration of what's going on within you and how sometimes what can happen when people are battling or feeling that there's a battle with health and with the deterioration of the body and what that does on the mind and relationships, this great unfolding that happens with our bodies is also how can there be more. I know this might sound, people are like, oh, I don't know about this, but playfulness and curiosity and bringing in the innocence of this expression in your body. And something that's been really supportive for me when I've had pretty significant challenges in a health level is when I step back, and I'm sure you're already doing some of this, but I step back and really say, okay, where are the gifts in this? What is the lesson in this? Why has this beautiful gift come into my body to teach me? What's the lesson that I need to receive from this so that I can renegotiate my body's reaction? I do believe that our bodies are brilliant and that when our bodies are expressing themselves, it's because there's something in our environment, whether it's in our emotional environment, our interpersonal environment, our lifestyle environment, even our physical environment. So the places we're in, the workspaces that we're in, there's so many things that can affect our capacity to regenerate our bodies. And also the mental environment, that the mental environment being the thoughts and the stories that we feed ourselves, and the being disillusioned, getting to those places of despair that can happen, especially for anyone that's experiencing chronic injuries or chronic ailment, and that feeling of, well, this is me, I am my pain, and how can I be me within this pain? Who is that new identity? So for you, Susan, let's see what they've got to say. So the first thing I'm seeing actually is like I'm seeing this nut. I don't know if it's like a kukui nut, which creates really beautiful oil, but I'm seeing like, I don't know if it's without if there's any more details you want to share, but I'm wondering if there's something about, I'm trying to understand if it's for your skin. There's something about this nut scrunchie. It's like, I don't recognize this nut. It's not a nut I recognize, but I'm wondering if there's maybe some like oils in it or some healing that comes from sort of vitamins in this nut, or why they're showing this to me. Let's see. You're a catalyst for the identity that desires to be born into this life through your body. That even though you can become the pain and the grief, you can also see it as an extension of fortifying your capacity to experience life. Even though these experiences can be disheartening, there is a way of shifting so that you are feeling empowered in it. And part of that empowerment is knowing that you have the capacity to change the script. And changing the script doesn't necessarily mean that you're bringing yourself into full physical vitality overnight. But it does mean that you're capable of disengaging from any beliefs that you are not a vessel of health and vitality. That there's a blueprint in every cell of your being to be a reflection of what is occurring within you. This is one of the great gifts of being in this body and one of the great challenges. So if what is within you is some sort of, oh, they're kind of popping out. They're showing me this. There's something about, I'm seeing like inside your muscle tissues. I'm seeing kind of like being shown through the tissues of your body. And it's like I'm seeing, especially in your thighs, I think it's like maybe your thighs. It's almost like I see this, like, I think the thighs too, or maybe it's is where a lot of blood, or maybe it's your femurs where a lot of blood is created. But there's something about like, that's interesting. They're saying it. There's something about like this unresolved relationship with yourself and your animus. So the animus. I mean, I think this is a Freudian or Jungian term. Yeah, Carl Jung is the animus being. Tell me if I'm incorrect, everyone. The animus being kind of this, that each of us is this concept that each of us have these many sides, and within ourselves we hold these many identities and archetypes within us. We hold the masculine, the feminine, and really the in-between. um, and and so when exploring like what does it mean to not have this full relationship with your animus, is potentially exploring what is, and this would also come out, so just say, in at least in my beliefs and how I work with energy in the body, the right side is more of like a yang, which can be associated with the masculine, though I also understand that even during this time, masculine can be like a limiting term, but that there's this yang, the right side, especially if your polarities have it that you are right-handed, that the right side of your body would be more of your masculine or your yang side, which is about giving and offering and creation, and the left side of your body being more about receptivity and the feminine, and receiving and taking on nourishment, nurturing. And so I'm curious if you could, even if there's any parts of your body that you're noticing, because they're showing me there's something about maybe the right side of your body, and how you can start bringing in a relationship with that internal masculine within you, or that internal animus, that part of you, that reflection part of you, that holds that protection, that holds that strength and that capacity to give and create. And you can do that in your own ways, but it feels like sometimes when the body too is going through a series of like derailments, or just continuous this thing turns into this thing, is that they're, by bringing in the power of the guardian within your body and that sense of protection within your being, that could possibly help with incoming energies. And of course, without connecting with you personally, like I'd love for everyone that I work with on these mini sessions to just see you and talk and get deeper, but to explore maybe what that could mean to you. Also exploring, the tissues, and maybe there's something about taking on taking more oils in. I don't know if that's supportive to the diet regime, or putting oils on your skin. But there's something about this nut. If you want to look into it, the nut I'm seeing is kind of like a hard round shell, but with a nice like inside, like a brown. So that's for you, my dear. So moving on. All right, so it almost looks like, I'm just curious, if anyone's on, am I having crazy, is my screen looking crazy? Because when I go online here, it's looking insane. So while I'm waiting for the next, oh, yay, hey cutie, we've got Lucy. So I'm just waiting for the next question. We can do another little intermission song. I feel like actually while I'm waiting for the next question, I'm going to just offer, instead of a song, I kind of feel like offering this little mini story as an experiment. So it looks fine to you? Okay, good. Perfect. So here's a little intermission song thing. In fact, I think, hello, Lisa, hello. While I'm waiting for a question, I think I'm just going to offer a little transmission that feels more of a present to everyone that's watching. So this is for you all. Something that we encourage you to look into in yourself is there a division? Do you feel divided in what you believe in? Whether it's parts of you that believe one thing, but then other parts of you that feel that belief actually gets in the way of what that part believes in. But there can be these internal division points. And so, what can you do to be that peacemaker within you and explore these different perspectives? Giving each of them space. And so, for all of you watching, if you choose to accept, this is the homework, is to explore 4 perspectives on trusting in your instincts. One of those perspectives being trusting in your instincts from the part of yourself that creates in this world. The other part being trusting in your instincts from the part of yourself that wishes to hide from this world. And the third one is trusting in your instincts from the part of yourself that denies that this world is here to support you fully. And the last one is trusting in your instincts from the perspective of the part of yourself that chooses to be distant from your needs. And so when exploring this, what the guidance here is to write or explore memories where you felt a clash or a union of these parts of yourself. And then bringing them all together. Thank you. I don't know if that made any sense. I didn't totally understand. I'll have to look back on it, but that's for you. So the question we have, first question we have lined up is from G.S. Lena. And they're saying, do you have any guidance to help me in my spiritual path? Thank you. It's interesting. The first thing I heard was corresponding to someone. So, sometimes a big part of our spiritual path is actually reaching out and corresponding or clearing situations. Or corresponding, what I mean corresponding is perhaps there's somebody in your life, whether it's from the past or currently, that require some sort of like message or affirmation that you're still thinking of them, or that you want, like, I feel like there's some sort of correspondence that could be really empowering for you. And part of when we're creating these, reaching out or bringing parts of our tenderness, our vulnerability to somebody, is knowing that it's not that part about how this relates into our spiritual aspect is understanding that the result of when we create these conversations or we offer our truth is less as important as actually stepping forward and initiating the conversation. It doesn't mean that it can't assure you, like, we can't assure you, like, you're going to reach out to this person or maybe somebody that you're interested. There's something, I'm not, maybe you have an idea already. We can't assure you that that's even going to create a very visible, um, obvious shift. But on an internal realm, if any of you are holding on to some sort of conversation that hasn't been created, that is being held in your body over time, yes, you can kind of forget about it or ease off, but it doesn't change the actual effect that your body has and your spirit has on holding this needed um, experience. And oh, she says true. They say true. It's my TMs. Yeah, and so in creating this correspondence, seeing it as a form of liberation and a form of empowering yourself to offer that part of what you are responsible for out of your being, and other people, they're going to have their own experiences, whether they want to respond, whether there's an openness to that, but that's something that's going to be really supportive on in your path and in your spiritual path. Um, so that's for you, my dear. So the next question we have is from Crystal Kaleidoscope, who says, what simple things can I do to gather myself and my strength as I move into a super busy time of much leadership, where I won't have a lot of downtime for probably the next month and a half? Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see. You're welcome. Yes, Luna. You're welcome to heal or reconstruct the part of yourselves that haven't in the past given the container needed for growth. And so, what's happening now that we see connected to your split energies is needing to firstly disengage from any past experiences that are tainting or tinting how you perceive you in the role of leadership. Because where you are now is much different to where you have been. But one of the tools that we can share, and this is for anyone that holds leadership roles, is remembering that a true leader is capable of being open to suggestions, along with being able to put one's foot down when redirecting people is imperative. Knowing that it's not your responsibility to tend to everyone's emotional reactions, but it is your responsibility to tend to the group's needs for leadership. And sometimes those needs for leadership require you to be really strict in a way with timing, with responsibilities, and also delegation. But something that could be more supportive this time around is possibly creating. Oh, they're kind of showing me this image of actually creating like a physical, um, maybe a document, maybe that has, like, if you're like, I'm thinking this is maybe more about maybe when you're, because I know you're going to folk camp, but I'm seeing that there's some way of almost like creating a document that has like the basic rules of for people on how to be supportive and how to assist. Like, I don't know if that's the right wording. yeah, it's like almost like creating this like guideline. I don't know how to describe it, but they're showing me this image of, I'll just relate it to something that I've experienced with my work, is realizing that sometimes it's actually a lot more beneficial for everyone if I have really clear blueprints that are like written down, whether they're like rules, or if you know, if you're working in a kitchen, that there's like, this is the base level of like where things go, like all these questions that you can get over and over again. What the role represents. So like getting really clear, like if this is your role, writing it down, saying these are the things that you're responsible for, and by creating like that written document or that written agreement with people too, if you're being a leader in the form of also supporting people and having to like, if you're a task offering, if you're helping with tasks, advocate. Scott Graham says, advocate for one another, and the power of having that available, so that if you're in the frenzy of being in full time leadership, that if you don't have the space to actually like go over, or really the time, because you know, a lot of what I've seen happen is sometimes when there's like confusion in certain responsibilities, or you know, baselines, it can take a lot of time up, instead of having something really clear, saying look to this, or somebody can be that, you know, somebody could be that person for you, realizing, well, what roles are needed so that you're not fully taking on all of the questions, or all of that. There can be kind of this, yeah, like this advocate, having like this, whether it's a document or a person, like getting really clear with the roles, I think is important. um, and getting really clear when, even with your, when you're creating these agreements with the places that you're, if you're working, or what the role that you are agreeing to is. This is really huge as leaders, because I know that I've actually gone to a lot of leadership trainings. When I was younger, you know, thankfully, would my schools would multiple times give me scholarships to go to these leadership trainings because they thought I was a good leader. So part of that, though, is realizing in my life that because I've held a lot of this leadership in me, is noticing where I can overextend my capacity to hold more than I'm actually needing to hold. And in that overextending, I actually become less able to hold the pieces that the leader needs to hold, and can become, you know, spread thin, and that's where depletion can happen, and that's where confusion and, you know, getting like all muddled and can happen. And so getting really clear and checking yourself, and even if you have somebody with you, to like ask them, like, check me if I'm overextending, or if I am taking on these roles that I haven't agreed to be really helpful, because people love extra help. People love having their, you know, their responsibilities supported. But if you're in a group setting too, knowing how you can, I don't know if that makes sense, but it's kind of this thing I'm seeing for you, is learning when to remind yourself and have other people remind you, okay, what is yours to hold, and really putting your foot down, even if you see something needs to get done, remembering that in that moment when you could spend some time, okay, getting out of your responsibilities and go do somebody else's, keep people up to date, like that actually can um, enable a sense of you being seen as, you know, picking up all the loose ends constantly, and then that can create that psychology in the environment, and it doesn't actually create the accountability. So that, I feel like this is more about like when leading, when facilitating like your big food missions, or maybe working with other kids or counselors, I'm not sure, but that's for you on leadership. We got Scott here. Who else do we have next? So I think this is gonna be the last person we have today, which is Lisa. And so Lisa says, please can you tell me what my alien language lineage is, and how I can connect and use it in my spiritual journey? All right. Really fun question, by the way. Mm. Isn't it the first? Oh, you're welcome, Crystal Kaleidoscope. Hello. Hmm. So something that feels kind of important in exploring what does this mean of our alien language. I think our alien lineage. I like to think of it as yeah, our star lineage where maybe our soul has been dwelling for a long time. And so one way of actually blending these parts of ourselves and almost integrating them here in this life and in this body is that I found has been really, really supportive is actually star language. And so star language has been looked down as like gibberish or just like kids making up things or but it's actually there's this very old it's kind of this very ancient expression of our connection with something that is not as mental, not as conformed as being as English for one. I feel very limited with English, but it's another story. And so when I was a child, I realized that I would create these languages with friends, but in creating these languages, I also started developing my own sense of my own internal, I call it star language, that I use when I'm trying to um, be more authentic with what's occurring in my life or create healing prayers or even just like singing it to move energy in my being. And I've noticed that the more that I embody the star language, the more I feel that integration and that assimilation of that part of myself and feel that welcoming that into this world. So that's one thing. I can speak to you guys in a little bit of my star language. I'm getting a little more comfortable doing that online. So maybe I'll speak to you and speak to everyone too, and just speak to that part of you that is desiring to connect with these other aspects of who you are. I also heard like something about Andarian or something Andromedan, maybe. I'm not sure if that's helpful, but so it goes like this. Ewasana makoisana kiitsinin eva kamaluennana pikisina brutuns mi malakanos sala parten lakasevantuns klinan estrankanos vale varma kitsinir bantänkorun lena malahprisa konsen estare mala evone komshi mala quante bako enakana ele brelene konosamala bakutsun estela koroma kitabamunenek en estabaruma kalano dareste komushle vele kanadal kuret samanitun nitra makoloma varte kalanai e mira mala konservatan tu na kani matsina ma abutura anikons re malana helve tekan estar malay karumutun. So what that was, and so part of what I've learned is that as I explore just articulating what's really true to me or what's coming through in sign language, I'm able to see and feel it. So that was in embodying that connection with your star lineage. I saw this image of like noticing where your like I almost saw like this energy above our heads that can kind of fog up our connection, and it can be there. It can be mental energy. It could be just like cell energy, like kind of this mental static that can happen. And so creating clarity, like clear connections, and having visualizing almost like a beam of like normally I would say gold, but for you it feels like almost like this teal or this like bluey energy coming up to connecting to your star family and asking that through that energy that you're able to receive any guidance that will support you in bringing in the aspect of yourself that may feel like it hasn't been welcomed here fully in this planet in a way that is supportive to your purpose here in this life. And if you or for you, because we're kind of seeing this like blue teal energy, noticing that that could also be if you've ever experienced in your life seeing this light or having like flashes of it, that could also be a form of communication where you're receiving some sort of communication with that those beings. You can also do meditation, light meditations, where maybe you could get even like a blue light bulb and have that in your space and notice if there's a different sense of comfort in your being with that blue kind of teal light. So those are ways that feel pertinent at this point. All right. Okay, well, Allison, hi, sweetie. I'm coming to Toronto, by the way. I hope to see you there. I'll be at Pedestrian Sunday this month. I'm doing some private sessions, maybe a class too. So Allison says, hello. If you have time, I'd love to hear any guidance messages the Invisibles have for me that I should be aware of. Thank you. All right. That's interesting. The first thing I heard was like, a liver detox could be supportive, but not by yourself. Like almost like I saw this image of, oh, you're so welcome, Lisa. Namaste to you too. I saw this image of, yeah, like like you buddying up with somebody that wants to do a liver detox. That could be kind of a support network together. Because it can be kind of like maybe you've already done one recently, but it feels like that could be something that'd be a nice kind of summer cleanse process. Yeah, they're kind of saying like even as soon as like mid-month to the full moon. So the full moon is around like the 26th, I believe, of August. That even just sometime within then could be like a nice opportunity for you. We're also in the time of, I mean, we're coming up right now to the Leo new moon, which is on this weekend. Leo moon being very much about like personal strength and courage and capacity and leadership. So when we had Lizzie or Crystal Kaleidoscope earlier talking about how to be a support and leadership, that this is the time where we, in the new moon, these times setting our intentions and building that structure for the next cycle to complete itself in, exploring how can you use and release any buildup in your liver that has been as a result of potential. I know liver in the Chinese is a lot about anger too. Anger is, I think resentment can go there too, but just like helping clean any of those residual energies possibly from your past. I'm kind of hearing something about 2012, maybe 2010 to 2012. There's some sort of, I don't know if there's something within that time era that it might still be stored there that you could explore, but that having a buddy to help you with that could be really helpful. So thanking everyone for showing up today and bringing yourself into this space and thanking the invisibles and the great within, each of your unique stories and experiences, dreams and aspirations. And I thank the great beyond, the celestial realms, the unseen allies that have been giving us that greater perspective, that expansiveness to help us navigate our human experience. And then, of course, Pachamama, this great earth, thank you so much for holding us and supporting us and building that foundation so that the teachings and the guidance that come through today can have an outlet, have an inspired reaction or space to be supported in taking the path before them. And just honoring each and every one of you for being here today. So blessings to this beautiful life before you and all the ways you show up for the world and yourself and your community, your family. And before I sign out, I do want to share that I just put together this is it. I just made a newsletter. So for anyone that's not on my mailing list, I send out these newsletters, and this one is actually a small transmission I did about, I'm just gonna put it here. It's kind of gonna be a long thing to copy. Anyways, that's the random link to this newsletter that has a video transmission on insecurities as teachers and a little bit of my Toronto journey. So blessings to your day, all of you, and until next, aloha. It's not letting me end my broadcast. Maybe somebody else has a question.